Hey, everyone out there. Hope that you all are having a good start to your week. The temperatures are definitely up this week here in West Texas. Um, we had springtime in there somewhere. 2 weeks ago it was snowing. Now we're supposed to get around 100 by the end of the week. So it is I hope you enjoyed those 2 weeks of spring that we almost had. And do hope that you and your families are doing well. I encourage you, if you have not seen our live service from yesterday yet, that is still available on YouTube. And at the very beginning, we usually keep about 8 minutes or so of announcements that we'll just loop through over and over. That way, you can go ahead and keep up with everything that is going on here with the church family. We do have many that do want to ask that you continue to pray for. Uh, Please um, remember both Don and Tim Webb in your prayers as they will each be having surgeries done, one tomorrow, another on Wednesday. Don is having a cancer removed from his jawbone, and Tim will be having triple bypass surgery. So do please keep both of them and all the families in your prayers as well. I hope you have your Bibles with you. We're going to be in Acts today for most of this. And if you saw the little teaser post earlier, we are um, going to be talking about a few different things here that all kind of tie in together. Um, we're going to be talking about the worst creature ever to roam the earth and some fears, and I even said maybe even a Taylor Swift song. And so, if you know me at all, you know that I have lots of different fears. Um, Too many to go over in a class setting here, too many really to go over in one sermon. I could have a sermon series on my fears and probably take up the entire year. There'd be no problem with doing that. So, what I want to focus on today is just one of those things. And it's something that is kind of rough for you to have a fear of when you live in the dry West Texas area, and that is snakes. I really do not like snakes one bit. I just, I don't know why they're there. They're gross, they are scary, and they are deadly. And I don't care what anyone says, every single one of them is deadly because every one of them might cause a heart attack in me at any given point. People post videos of their snakes on Facebook and social media, and you can't stand it. I watch a movie with a snake in it, my feet come up into the chair because I just know that it's going to crawl off the screen and attack my feet. And it's just irrational, but I've seen people duck in the movie Jaws before, so at least mine, there could actually be a snake nearby. There's not going to be a great white shark in the movie theater with you. But what I want to kind of talk about with that is the story that we see in the book of Acts, chapter 28. Paul is on his way to Rome. They have this great storm, they get shipwrecked. And whenever they land there, we're told in the first few verses of chapter 28 that the island they landed on was called Malta. I'm going to pick up here in verse 2. The native people showed us unusual kindness, for they kindled a fire and welcomed us all because it had begun to rain and was cold. When Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and put them on the fire, a viper came out because of the heat and fastened on his hand. You see, that right there is a reason I don't like snakes, because they bite. And so, you're just minding your own business, and you sit there and you go over and you put the wood in there, and all of a sudden this snake just comes out and bites you. Now, we're told here that apparently this was a deadly snake. This was one that the local residents recognized as being something that should kill him, because their reaction to this in verse 4 was, "No doubt this man is a murderer. Though he escaped from the sea, justice has not allowed him to live." And so we see this going on where this snake bite probably should have killed him. Of course, it did not kill him, and he just shakes it off. Like I said, there's your Taylor Swift reference right there. Shake it off. If you ever get bit by a snake, shake it off, kill it, identify it, then go to the hospital, get the anti-venom, and but for in this instance, all Paul had to do was just shake it off. So he shakes it off into the fire, and he just keeps on going on. Nothing really phases Paul at all here. And so the people, they end up watching him. And it says that in verse 6, they were waiting for him to swell up or suddenly fall down dead. But when they'd waited a long time and saw no misfortune come to him, they changed their minds and said that he was a god. And I just want to imagine for a second what this might be like, because if I see someone that gets bitten by a snake, I'm not going to just be sitting around. I'm going to be going, are you okay? What kind of snake was that? Do we need to get this? Do we need to do that? Do we need to do all those things I just said a minute ago? Should we take you to the hospital? Which hospital should we take you to? What's your insurance? Are you covered for this? But the people here, they don't do anything. I mean, seriously, first of all, they start gossiping about him. He must have killed people. Look at that. He escaped from the sea, but now he's a goner. And so first they gossip about him, and then they just sit around and they wait, like, let's watch that hand. Is it swelling up? Is there a bruise there? How big is that hand going to get? Is he going to die? Let's just watch and see. It makes me think sometimes of growing up in Oklahoma whenever there is a tornado warning that comes out. And I think we might be having a problem here. I'm going to see if I can figure out what's going on. I'm getting some text messages from Charlie that maybe this is quit going. So allow me just a second here. My program may have messed up on me. Okay, I'm told everything is still good, so we will keep going. Are you on YouTube, Candace? Let's see. I'll be editing this part out later. So the people, though, they're sitting around and they're just watching. They're just watching and waiting to see something happen to him. And I'm thinking, what help are you guys? Paul first of all told us in verse 28 that, or not verse 28, in chapter 28, that they showed unusual kindness. But here, whenever he gets bit by a snake, their reactions are gossip and then just wait to see what happens. And like I was saying just a second ago, it makes me think of growing up in Oklahoma when they blow the tornado siren. Your reaction is, let's go look at it. And I know that's the same thing we do out here in Texas. It's, well, let's go look at this. There are tornado sirens. Well, the tornado warnings happened a lot last spring. And one of the times I'm outside on FaceTime with Candace because she was down at a conference in, I think it was Houston at the time for kindergarten. And I'm just FaceTiming these like rotating wall clouds around. And she's like, why are you not in the basement? I was like, well, the kids are there. She's like, yeah, but why are you not there? I'm like, well, I wanted to see it. And that's what kind of the people are doing here. This is like the first America's Funniest Videos moment here, where they're just sitting around watching, waiting for something to happen. But it made me think whenever I read this story, and every time I read this story, what would my reaction be to this? Would I have enough faith in God to not ask someone to quickly cut my hand off before the venom spreads everywhere else? Or would I be able to continue on with what I am doing? And that's a problem that happens is because so many times in our lives, fear will paralyze us. There are a reaction that's called fight or flight whenever you come across something. You either fight back or you fly away. But for me, it always seems like there's a third option, and it's fight, flight, or freeze. Because whenever I see those things, I lock up. And Candace can tell you whenever the few times I've tried driving over some of the passes when we go into Colorado that I can't do it. I lock down. I'm starting to crawl really slow. She gets upset with me because everyone else in the family that's ahead of us is getting further and further away from us. And I'm sitting here like this going 20 miles an hour in a 60 zone because I'm scared that I'm suddenly going to just go off the side. But fear has this way of paralyzing us that says you need to stop what it is that you're doing and you need to just focus on the fear. That you need to dwell on that. That don't fly away from it. Don't even fight it, but just do nothing. And we talked, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago about the Laodiceans in Revelation and how that hot or cold passage meant that they just weren't useful. They weren't doing anything. And so many times we get to that way because of whatever it is that we have a fear of. I went into, I think it was Turkey Creek a few years back with my brothers-in-law in Colorado to go fishing, and we get out of the truck and we start going down into the stream, and all of a sudden there's like two snakes that start going off into the tall grass nearby, and they're literally just a few feet away from us. And like I said, that's one of my biggest fears are snakes. And so I'm all of a sudden paralyzed, not wanting to do anything. Casey just picks up a rock, kills the snakes, and one of his sons goes, "Well, you sure fixed his wagon, Dad." And I just realized, am I the only one that's scared? There's like 9-year-olds right here that aren't scared. They're laughing at the snakes. And I'm over here going, what did I sign up for? We've been out of the car for less than 2 minutes, and I've already seen 2 snakes. How long is this trip going to last? And I don't want to do this anymore. And that fear just completely locked me down. And we have so many things. Every one of you that's watching this right now might be laughing at me because of my fear of snakes, might be thinking of how irrational it is to have a fear of snakes that aren't even poisonous, but I promise you, every one of you has a fear. Some of you are afraid of spiders. They don't bug me at all. I can step on most spiders. A snake will probably bite me back if I try to step on it, but I'm not scared of the spiders, but you might be. Some of you might be scared of so many things that other people don't have that fear of. There are so many different phobias that people study because of how it treats our brain whenever we come across one of those things and how it puts this lockdown on our actions. And fear can be a very powerful thing, but there is something even more powerful than fear, and that is faith. Just yesterday, I was talking about the song with a friend, "Be Strong and Courageous." And I don't know if you've ever heard this song, "Be Strong and Courageous," before. If you've ever sang it, I'm sure most of you have. The guys are singing, "Be strong and courageous and do not be afraid." The girls are singing, "He'll never forsake you, don't be afraid." And the guys continue to sing, "The Lord goes with you each and every day." The Lord goes before you through your struggles and strifes, and He will protect you all the days of your life. There's another song, "Do not fear. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. For I have called you by name. You are mine. I have redeemed you." When you pass through this, do not be afraid, because I will overcome whatever it is that you have this fear of. All of these different times that God tells us, don't be afraid. And the answer for why, God, why do you tell me not to be afraid, is because I'm there with you. Because I'm going to comfort you. I'm going to get you through those times. And even if, like we looked at with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego last week, even if God does not put us through safely, we have that faith in God that says, there's something even better than this life. When all of this stuff started with the quarantines about a month ago, I saw so many different people sharing things that said, you need to go ahead and just play it safe. Stay at home. Don't go to church services, but stay at home because it's better to have a little prayerful time with Jesus than to go meet him. And their thought process here was just stay at home, have your own worship service at home, have your own study at home, have your own time in prayer with God at home, because it's better for you alone at home to talk to God than to go meet him personally, in person, physically, spiritually, however. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. It's like, yeah, I get what you're trying to say. You're trying to get people to stay safe. You're trying to get people to not spread this around. You're trying to keep people from not dying from this disease. I understand that. But the fact that someone would say it's better to just talk to God than to go meet him just blew my mind that that would come out of the mouth of a preacher. It is not. I don't want to die. I want to live for a very long time on this earth, but I also want to see God. And that is more important than anything. And I have the assurance that I will meet God because, as he said, I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. So whatever it is that you have in your life that scares the living daylights out of you, God can get you through it. That even if something were to happen, that there's something better than what you're holding on to on this world here. And yes, people will be sad to leave this world. People will be sad when you leave this world. But that doesn't change the fact that this is not the promised land, that this is on the other side of it. We're wandering in a wilderness right now, waiting to go into the promised land that we have been promised for years and years and years and years, and is so much better than this one. And whatever we have to fear here, we won't have to fear there. I will not be afraid of snakes in heaven because they will not have any snakes in heaven. I will not be afraid of heights because I will be with the Most High in heaven. I will not fear because I will not have just the promise that God is with me, but because God will literally be with me. Paul here takes everything in stride. I mean, he's already been shipwrecked, takes it in stride. He gets bit by a snake, he just casts it off into the fire. And I want to point out, he didn't look to see if it was venomous or not before he threw it into the fire. So for everyone who says you need to identify a snake first before you kill it or not, it's biblical to go ahead and just kill it instantly, okay? That's in the Bible, literally. It's okay. So don't get mad at me whenever I see a snake and I instantly call someone else over to kill it for me because, like I said, I'm too scared to. But he takes it in stride. He shakes it off. He moves on. And he does this with everything. We're told that he is up in the upper room talking, and a man falls out of a window and dies while he's speaking with him. Well, what does Paul do? He goes down, he brings him back to the dead, and then he keeps talking, maybe not in a lecture form, but still conversing with these people. He takes it in stride. He has no fear. And he doesn't have the fear because he knows with that absolute certainty of what is waiting for him down the line. That he has talked to Jesus. He knows God's will. He knows that he is doing God's will. So everything else doesn't matter. Our country is slowly starting to return to some semi-state of normal right now. And there are a lot of people who think maybe this should have happened weeks ago. There are a lot of people protesting in states where things are not returning to normal. And there are a lot of people who think that we are returning to normal too soon. I'm not a doctor. I am not a scientist. I don't know the life cycle of viruses. But the one thing I do know is the CDC is not in control. WHO is not in control. The White House is not in control. God is in control. If this is the time for Jesus to return, this is the time for Jesus to return. If Jesus returns next year or in 10 years or in 30 years, it's not up to me. It's not up to Jesus. But I know with absolute certainty that while this earth is still spinning, it is because God wills that this earth is still spinning. And that keeps me from being afraid from anything. Jesus says, don't be afraid of the one who is able to destroy the body but cannot touch the soul. So there's only one that can destroy both body and soul. And that's nothing on this earth. It's not an organization, a government, or some kind of strain of virus. The only thing that can be touched is my physical body. And it's going to be gone eventually, regardless. But I'll be given a new body and a new time in a new promised land with God. And that's what matters. If you're afraid today, I'm just going to leave you with this. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you each and every day. Whatever it is that you've got going on right now, whatever fears you might have, God has a purpose for you. You can still do His work, whether you're quarantined or not. I hope you guys have a great week. Be kind to one another and keep spreading the word.